Okay. Hi, I'm Deanne Battle, and this is the Composite. We are in season 4, and this is episode 7. Apologies. My allergies are kicking my butt, and I had like a sneeze attack before I wanted to go live. So hopefully I'm okay. But apologies if you see me blowing my nose and stuff like that. It is what it is. And I've taken 3 allergy pills, so it's just like, nope, this is what's happening today. Okay. So I was thinking about this morning, like, okay, what do I want to cover? What do I want to talk about? And then I started doom scrolling. And then, I was getting closer to showtime, and then I was like, oh, there's the show right there. Let's share the doom scrolling, okay? So I am going to be I was going to say barrel of laughs, but then if you're familiar with Taraji P. Henson's comments about that, I'm just kind of like, oh, I can't use that anymore. It seems to have very morbid origins, but if she was accurate, and I don't have any reason to believe that she wasn't. So anywho, I'm gonna be so much fun today. All right, I'm gonna put on my big girl panties, and we're gonna look at some current news themes and concerns. I'm not gonna say necessarily stories, right? Because I'm just I'm pulling from different sources and everything. But what I would like to do first is I'd like to pull an oracle card, actually before I get started. Perhaps, if we try to view some of this news through a particular lens, if that makes any sense, it could be a bit easier to digest. Let me see. All right. Yes, and I feel a sneeze attack coming on now, of course. I really need a stand for this thing. All right. Production value still low. Want. All right. So that'll have to do for the time being. Hopefully you can still hear me even though the speaker is a little covered. Pardon me. Goodness. Excuse me. Sucks. All right. So, a few episodes I had mentioned that I found a good and cheap new oracle deck. So I've been pulling cards from that usually at the end of the show. So this is the first time I'm trying this format. And I hope people are doing well. I hope you have a decent weekend ahead of you, someplace cool, hopefully. Okay, let's see, and one more. I think that's 5. Try to shuffle an odd number of times. Alrighty. There we go. Thank you. Card on the bottom is discipline. Master teacher. And the number is 33. Okay. All right. All right. So today's card is solitude. And it's higher self. So that's number 13. Right. Let's have a look in here. So I'm just going to read from the book. Haven't memorized it yet. Of course. Excuse me. All right. Okay. Number 13, solitude, higher self. Some things to think about: observation, contemplation, renewal, listening. Your desire to seek solitude is appropriate at this time. You're being counseled by your higher self to retreat and to renew your soul through quiet contemplation. Your nervous system has been overstimulated and you can't absorb any more input from the outer world. Step away and give yourself the necessary peace and time alone you require to revitalize your system. In doing so, you'll begin to sense, feel, and even hear the voice of your higher self, but only when you step into more natural surroundings. Reconnect with nature in whatever way is practical, given your circumstances. Fully open your heart to your higher self, even if you fear you can't make contact. You are making contact. Furthermore, your higher self asks you to take your time when contemplating your circumstances and considering your options. Interesting. Goodness. Yeah, we'll see how long I make it on here. Goodness. Okay. Resist the temptation to yield to any sense of urgency. There is no emergency. Your true direction will make itself known if you're patient. Your higher self also alerts you to the fact that not all the necessary pieces of information to make the best decisions may be apparent yet. Your higher self wisely counsels that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is nothing. The message: be quiet and wait. Okay, interesting. All right, so all of these terrible stories that I'm about to talk about, maybe it's saying not to see it as dire as it seems on the surface. Yeah, I'll sit with that as a piece of advice. Be patient, maybe, contemplate in nature. Okay. Yeah, I mean, things are cyclical, right? I'm sure that there are definitely worse eras of human history, but damn, you know. Goodness, excuse me. Yeah, these allergies are kicking my butt. Okay, so we will, look at these stories and stuff with an eye toward solitude and solitude in the sense of pausing for cooler heads to prevail. I think that's a valid point, even though I'm generally not a cooler head. Okay, so there's that. Now, before I hopped on, there is, if you're familiar with the Young Turks, they have, I don't know what you call them, spin-offs or sub-shows. I don't know how you relate it to the main show. But anyway, Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Ritchie. He wasn't on today, but the host Sharon Reed and Senator Nina Turner, they are cooking over there. It was a really good broadcast. I didn't see all of it, but I saw like the first half of it, before I started, my broadcast. And so shout out to them, and I'll actually link to that because the first thing that I want to talk about is, something that was inspired by their conversation. All right. And then I'll also link to, I've got 3 or 4 articles that I wanted to talk about. And I'll link to them. And then, like I said, the Rashad Ritchie show as well. All right. So, I need to pull my nose again and I'm out of tissue. Broadcast problems. Okay, no, I gotta do it. All right, I'll be right back. This is crazy. Lord. That's the closest thing I'm going to get to a commercial break at this point. My apologies. If I had the ability to edit videos, if I knew how, had equipment and whatnot, I would cut that out. But use your imagination, cut it out in your mind. Okay, so like I said, Sharon Reed and Senator Turner were discussing the fact that black media has been shut out of the debate that's going to happen this evening between the two presidential candidates, the two main candidates, the two candidates that get press, nobody else does, President Biden and former President Trump. And so, listen, it wasn't a debate that I was really looking forward to. I was just going to look up the highlights or the lowlights, so to speak. Just a second. Pardon? All right. So I, don't have a dog in the fight, so to speak. But what they were talking about are the ways in that black media has been shut out. They weren't given press passes. And so, I caught the conversation, when I was getting dressed and everything. And so I wanted to pull up an article related to that. So this is The Hill. And it says, NABJ demands CNN credential, demands basically that CNN credential black press for debate. All right. Okay. And so NABJ is the National Association of Black Journalists. I'm really trying hard not to share snot with you. Really trying hard over here. Professionalism. Okay. All right. Let's look for the highlights here. NABJ said in a statement, this article is from The Hill, by the way, I'll link it, said in a statement on Thursday, the network told it more than 800 journalists from around the world will be covering the debate on site, noting the application for credentials closed on June 7th, and it could not accept additional requests after this date due to size and security restraints. No matter the reason, the local black press was not approved in regards to guidelines. We are asking CNN to create space to ensure fair and balanced coverage, so that all citizens have access to real-time content from the debate. The black press serves as a primary news source for many black Americans who are key voices in the voting process. It is critical to ensure black-owned and operated media are present and have prime placement to record, create, and share content for their audiences. In a statement to The Hill on Thursday, CNN said it was, quote, happy to welcome more than 800 journalists from around the world to Atlanta this week. They're in Atlanta, and there's no black press at this thing. One more time. They're in Atlanta, and there's no black press approved for this debate. Yes, including credentialed members from local black press who applied for credentials during the credentialing window. These are horrible quotes. Did ChatGPT write this article? The Hill, I'm sorry, I'm an English teacher. It's very repetitive. You should have used a different verb there. Credentials during the application window. That would have been better. All right. Information about how to apply was made available to the public on May 15th, so on and so forth. Yeah. So listen, I want to look at this in the larger context in terms of a confluence of things that are happening, right? Something that I really spoke about last season was the economic piece, right? Black folks in the US, we are the bottom caste, right? And so in a racialized democracy, unless we are made whole, we will be a permanent underclass. So what happens to a permanent underclass, right? You eventually, right, go away. And so what we see happening is our voting rights are not protected. Our districts are heavily gerrymandered, so to dilute the power of our remaining votes. You've got those two things happening. And now there is a media shutout of the Black press. But see, what's interesting about that is the Black political class, right, that goes on CNN and these other networks will tell us how we're low information voters, but you won't even give us press passes to get into the debate. So now, okay, we're low information voters. You don't want us to get access to the information. You're not protecting our vote. And then, right, now on top of all of this, like, if Biden loses, and I mentioned this last season, I believe, we're going to be blamed for that. Black voters, like they have this conspiracy theory that black voters are running to Trump, which I'll come back to that. So we're allegedly running to Trump, or, you're a low information voter, you'll stay home. But notice the level of contempt that's being shown here politically. And that's not the only place, but, the level of contempt that is being shown to us politically. And I do disagree with Senator Turner on one of her points. She said that she thinks maybe it was oversight, or it could potentially be oversight, and it might not be malicious. I definitely... okay, let me take that solitude card back out, because I just can't. I can't with these people. It is malicious. This is done on purpose. This is a big fuck you to the Black community. That's what this is. And you know why it's happening? Because we're asking tough questions now, right? Whew. Higher self-solitude, higher self-solitude, higher self-solitude. Okay, we're being shut out of the political process. And, again, coupled with the economic deprivation, we want something tangible for our vote. We're asking difficult questions. And because we're doing that, everybody's like pretending we don't exist now. Okay? So you have, being shut out of the political process. Again, the economic deprivation, the erasure of our culture that's currently happening. Like everybody and their mama apparently has created hip hop other than us now. Should I say this? They're preparing to get us up out of here, or they'll try it. Because how else are you supposed to read that? So I can't get a leg up economically. My vote is not even, they're not even pretending that they care to get our votes at this point. So my vote matters, but not in a way that, again, is tangible for my community. Right? You're diluting the power of my vote, and you're erasing me from my culture. So what else is next? We know how this goes. So it's very alarming, not surprising, but alarming within that context. We're not far off. they want to get us up out of here. I really don't know what we're going to do. I don't know if there's the will or the appetite to fight on all three fronts: economic, political, and cultural. I don't know if we have the energy. But it's, and I mean, there are some people in the political class that are now saying something, but here's the thing, like, it's the day of the debate. Like, I see it as a story on a podcast, and I'm seeing articles, but who knew what when, right? Like, when were people aware of this? Because I don't know, to be fair, if it's that our media organizations, weren't being proactive. I highly doubt that, right? That every Black media organization that covers politics just was like, oh, the debate. Oh, like, I doubt that that's what happened. This feels like a concerted effort. And especially when they have international organizations there. And I'm sure every other non-white demographic, I'm sure, has representation. So this is a very clear message, from the political media that, we know the deal with Trump, right? But also for the Democratic Party that, our presence doesn't make a difference, and that educating our voters is not important. So, I mean, I just don't have anything else to say about it. It's just, it's alarming, in addition to being infuriating, because that's the message that you're sending. Strip us of our rights, strip us of our vote, continue to keep a foot on our neck economically, and then you see across industries, senior Black executives are being fired left and right every single day. So even the quote unquote successful people that we have are being sacked and minimized. And I was going to say Jamal Bowman lost his seat as well, but I wasn't that excited about him politically, to be honest. I mean, I think it's unfortunate, but if you're Black on the left, I just would suggest not being all over the place. Like, what is your focus? Like, what do you do? What do you care about? And I watched a lot of his speeches, especially when he was running as a candidate. And even then, he was like all over the place. I'm sorry. I need you to have a unified platform and a unified focus. And frankly, if that focus is, not us, then good luck, homie. So hopefully he is still able to remain active politically. I mean, I don't wish anything bad for him, but I didn't feel it as a huge loss. But, it's all, again, just in the context of what I'm talking about. We're in a very particular space and time right now. Excuse me. I thought if I was more aggressive that time, that it would just, clear any snot that was on the bench as well. Okay. All right. So moving on to another jacked up story. Okay, related to the heat. So if you all have been keeping up with the discourse online about AI, one of the problems with it is it taxes the power grid. And, so I saw one person say, well, let me get this straight. Companies want to use AI to replace all of our jobs, but now they're upset because they don't have enough power to use AI to replace all of our jobs. You could just hire people and stop trying to use AI to replace everybody. It's just, it's the people that run the companies. Like if we look at the Fortune 500, just limit our attention to that, millions and millions of dollars that they make every year, hand over fist. Competency, where is not a part of that? Like, it's just in the greed of like, oh yeah, I don't, screw humans, I don't want to have to pay them. You literally want to shut down our whole power grid. It's just so apparent that, like, between a climate crisis, a crisis of artificial intelligence, there's not enough power for all of this stuff, right? And also, if you're unaware, Bitcoin is a huge power suck as well. Excuse me. So sorry, I apologize. I know someone who would mine Bitcoins, and just how he described it, he just had a separate computer set up to just mine. And it was just like 24/7. And I think I asked, like, well, how much power is that using? And, I'm not a tech person or a scientist, but the way he was describing it, I'm like, how is that even sustainable? And a bigger question that I've had for years, which, I mean, I should probably look it up at this point, but c'est la vie, I already started the show. What good is Bitcoin when our power grid is going to go out? Because it's the beginning of summer, at least in the northern hemisphere here. And I know for me, like, I've been trying to, like, turn the AC off at certain, periods of time in the day, but I usually, if I can help it, I usually don't start running the air conditioner until July. So, I mean, the fact that, I've pretty much got it higher, excuse me, and there are going to be at least 2 more months of this. It's going to be so expensive. But, I'm trying to keep myself cool, keep the dog cool, And the thing is, at night, like last night, I turned off the air conditioner and I was just like, okay, it'll be a little bit cooler because it's dark. But then the thing is that when you have a lot of concrete, I've got the patio, and there's the big parking lot in front of the apartment complex. And it's just the concrete is just radiating heat all night. So it doesn't, unless there's a breeze going, you're not really going to get that cool. So this is a problem. Now, the article that I have here is from a local news site, right? And it says, how the U.S. electrical grid stacks up to a changing world. By the end of this decade, the demand for energy in the U.S. is expected to spike as much as 20%. This raises the question, can the grid keep up? And the answer is no. In New York, again, doom scrolling, but also just kind of using common sense. There's definitely going to be a blackout before the end of the summer. There's no way, right? Because I'm seeing emails go out, if you're a municipal worker, sometimes like places will have, a summer Friday or something like that or whatever. And some of these places, not to be specific or whatever, are doing like, okay, we need to power down, if no one's there. And I don't think that that is a bad idea. Like, yeah, don't waste power. But the thing is that we all know if you come into a space and the AC has been off all weekend, Monday morning, it's going to take a while for stuff to cool off and cool down. And so I think that, maybe the Adams administration in New York, maybe they're just trying to like get ahead of stuff in terms of asking places to do that. Or, maybe people are just trying to be more fiscally responsible and save money. But again, these measures within themselves are not a problem. But, because generally we're so wasteful in this country, it shows like, oh, wow, like everyone's, looking, for ways to really conserve this energy because there's not enough of it. Okay, so just a little bit from this article, excuse me. Okay, so it mentions the Texas power grid in February of 2021 when Ted Cruz went to Mexico. And then it says now the energy grid is vulnerable at a time when it's needed more than ever. The U.S. is experiencing extreme temperatures, plus new demands like artificial intelligence, electric vehicles, and an aging infrastructure, which together create a perfect storm for troubles. There are not enough people becoming electricians, and so many sections of our grid are run down, eroded, and basically hanging together with like duct tape. I wish I was exaggerating. I don't believe I am. Across America, this is a different paragraph, 80% of power outages in the last 3 years were due to weather, according to Climate Central. Storms are becoming more severe due to climate change. Power systems have collapsed from hurricanes, wildfires, heat waves, and deep freezes. Not only is the infrastructure unprepared for disasters, excuse me, but much of it has reached its expiration date and beyond. According to the American Society of Civil Engineers, most parts of the country's energy grid were made 65 to 75 years ago and had 50-year lifespans. Oh my gosh, this is worse than I thought. Doomscrolling, join me. This is terrible, y'all. Oh. Yet, if you watched season 4, episode 4, I believe that was an episode when I was just kind of like at a McDonald's. I was talking about an article from Foreign Affairs, and it was basically from a military standpoint saying that we should have our eyes set on a 3-theater war, right? Meaning the Middle East, Ukraine, and then, throw in Asia, i.e. Fighting with China about Taiwan, or fighting with North Korea because we fight with North Korea. So you've got a strategy going to feed the war machine. How are you going to feed the war machine with no power? We do everything, almost everything. I'm not going to exaggerate. We do almost everything ass backward. We should have a military strategy, a war strategy to fight our aging infrastructure. We should have a strategy to revitalize our systems, whether it's rail, air, our roads, and our power grid. But no, we're going to let this country rot from the inside out and basically feed all our money through defense contractors and overseas conflicts. That's what's happening. Now, it does say here, excuse me, there was federal legislation from the Biden administration to pour in $2 trillion in an effort to green the grid. But I would want an audit, a forensic audit on that. Who's getting these contracts? Who are you giving the money to? All right. Is stuff like actually getting done, or is it just handouts to your buddies? Yeah. So that's story 2. Higher self, solitude. Higher self, solitude. Okay. Now, to follow up that article, this is one from last year, but again, connecting it to what I just read. I won't stay on this as long because I don't want to pile on. But it says, scientists warn 1 billion people on track to die from climate change. All right. Hold on. This is gross, y'all. Sorry. Yes. So listen, if scientists are saying this, that means the political class of this country is aware. So that means that everything that they're doing has our demise baked in, right? So maybe that's why they don't care about the infrastructure. They're like, we're going to let these sons of bitches die anyway, so we might as well just do what we want. It says a recent review of 180 articles on the human death rate of climate change has settled on a deeply distressing number. Over the next century or so, conservative estimates suggest 1 billion people could die from climate catastrophes, possibly more. As with most predictions for the future, this one is based on several assumptions. One is a rough rule of thumb called the 1,000 ton rule. Under this framework, every 1,000 tons of carbon that humanity burns is said to indirectly condemn a future person to death. Wow. This is dark. All right. I'll link this as well. Yeah, this is a shit show. The United Nations, I'm just skipping around, reports that every year environmental factors take the lives of about 13 million people. Whoa! And yet it's not clear how many of these deaths are directly or indirectly due to climate change. What do you mean it's not clear? Environmental racism. The water in Flint is still poisonous. People who end up as climate refugees, like the areas that they're from are so inhospitable to human life now that they have to try to go other places. I mean, and so, if you're in an area that has either flood or drought and you're trying to get out and you can't, you probably either drown or you die of dehydration and thirst. Yeah, so I don't know what they mean by it's not clear. Excuse me. But to be fair, I might be reading that wrong. Okay, so it says predicting the future death tolls of these climate catastrophes is inherently imperfect work, but Pierce and his co-author, Richard Parncut from the University of Graz in Austria, think it's worth pursuing. Yeah. Wow. 1 billion people. And it's like, by what year? That should be clearer. Oh, excuse me. Sorry, I'm just trying to find the time estimate. It just says the coming decades. Excuse me. All right, I would excuse. Oh goodness, this is a pain. It's a sneaky allergy attack. All right. Any visible snot? I don't think so. All right, I only have one more article. I am going to take another commercial break, and I'll be right back. My apologies. Elevator music here. Do 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 do. Okay. Last article. All right. So we started out, looking at politics through the lens of Blackness, and then, transitioned into, talking about power, energy, climate crisis. Now, this last article is from CNN, and it was posted somewhere. So I, went to the actual website and got it. And the title of this one is "The Fertility Crisis is Here and It Will Permanently Alter the Economy." That's why I wanted to talk about this article. Higher self-solitude, higher self-solitude. I don't know what system I would prefer, but the older I get, the more insidious capitalism seems. So they're saying it's a fertility crisis, and the first thing that they're concerned about is the economy, not the health of humanity as a species, not the cultural, psychological, and otherwise implications, for people that want to have families that can't. No, this article is just basically like, oh, we need more workers to feed the beast. Like, fuck off. So, in the first sentence, the world needs more babies. Falling fertility rates have long been a concern for economists, worried that aging societies could diminish the labor force, further exacerbate inflation, upend the consumer culture upon which mature economies depend, and overwhelm government programs meant to care for aging populations. All right, so notice the parallels here. We want to churn through power to feed the beast of artificial intelligence. And again, everyone will be, obsolete at that point, right? In, some weird billionaire's mind. Anyway. But then on the flip side, oh, by the way, you guys need to crank out more babies to feed the beast of capitalism, which is basically what I was saying earlier. Meanwhile, these dirty bastards know how many of us are going to die from climate change. So they don't care about extending our lives at all. It's just like, listen, we need you to work so we can continue parasitically to feed off of you economically. Now, I'm just going to skip around. Okay. If forecasts hold up, 2064 will be the first year in modern history where the global death rate surpasses the birth rate. And that's if we don't have another pandemic, which we probably will. All right. So they're saying 2064, right? So that's 40 years from now. I'm Hold on. I know it's morbid to say, I don't anticipate being alive. We don't, on my end, we don't have as long of a shelf life. But that's really screwed up for the people that will be here. Now, like I was saying, if we have another pandemic, you could probably inch this up another 15 years or so. All right, so that would put us at, I gotta do some math, 2049. Yeah, 2049. Okay. I would be alive in 2049. Yeah, I think so. I hope so. Doom scroll. All right. I just, the ADD is getting to me today. But the world's largest economies are already there. The total fertility rate among the OECD's 38 member countries dropped to just 1.5 children per woman in 2022 from 3.3 children in 1960. And this is the impetus behind taking away reproductive rights. They don't care about women being able to have, autonomy and say over their bodies. They just want more bodies to put to work for unlivable wages, by the way, which is why so many people are probably not having kids. Can you even afford it? When one of my best friends, when she told me what she was paying for daycare for her daughter when she was like 6 months old to a year, I can't even imagine what she has to pay now as her daughter, gets older. I mean, she's in school, but still, it's so expensive. So that's well below the replacement level of 2.1 children per woman needed to keep the populations constant. Look at this next sentence. That means the supply of workers in many countries is quickly diminishing. You're not even a human being in this article. You're a human resource. You're a supply of workers. This is really evil. This is evil. And I don't know what needs to happen for us to get to some type of point. I don't know if we've ever been at a point in human history where the actual integrity of the person, mind, body, and soul was placed above commerce. But here, this is just so naked and so brazen. And then here's a quote from someone. Reduction in the share of workers can lead to labor shortages, which may raise the bargaining power of employees and lift wages, all of which is ultimately inflationary. And this person is Simona Paravani Mellinghoff, managing director at BlackRock, of course. And it was written in an analysis from last year. So let's decode that for a second. It's obnoxious. All right. So let's break that down. A reduction in the share of workers can lead to labor shortages, which may raise bargaining power of employees and lift wages, all of which is ultimately inflationary. So what she's saying is, hey, we need to get these jabronis to have more babies, because otherwise, if there are fewer people, they can actually wield that as power against the corporations. Now, her conclusion is that it leads to inflation. That is bullshit. If you lowered executive wages and gave it to the employees, then you wouldn't worry about it. No, but they want to continue making like $50 million dollars per year. And I believe that was one of the studios, actually, where the executive, he made $40 or $50 million last year. I should look into that more specifically. And you can feel free to look it up for yourself. I don't like to exaggerate numbers because I'm not a numbers person, but that's definitely in the ballpark figure. But so it's just like, oh, if the workers can negotiate higher wages, then that's going to lead to inflation. It only leads to inflation because you bastards don't pay taxes, and you don't it's just an extraction process. So we supply the labor, they extract the wealth, and then, again, they want you to have kids that you can't afford, so you can have more, again, jabronis to supply labor so they can extract the wealth. What a piece of work. And the fact that this is presented with zero moral considerations. And so I recognize journalism, or what passes for journalism right now, should be objective, but there's some massively problematic modes of framing in this article from a moral standpoint. And while, okay, so then the next article is about immigration. So the next paragraph. And while net immigration has helped offset demographic problems facing rich countries in the past, the shrinking population is now a global phenomenon. This is critical because it implies advanced economies may start to struggle to import labor from such places, either via direct migration or sourcing goods. Again, you're feeding these arms of capitalism. There is not infinite power. Years ago, I read part of Crossing the Rubicon by Michael C. Rupert, and I just had to stop. It was at that point in my personal development as an adult, it was just a little bit too much to take. I need to revisit that, because this is like the main thing that he talked about. And I listened to his show for years and years and years. I was so sad to hear that he died. He took his life. It was too much. But this is the main thing that he was talking about, in terms of the ethical breaches that people commit in order to continue to generate wealth. Wealth is not infinite on a finite planet. And it says I'm only going to look at a couple of other things here, and then we'll wrap up soon. I definitely want to do a couple of poems, though. Okay. By 2100, only 6 countries are expected to be having enough children to keep their population stable. Africa's Chad, Niger, and Somalia, the Pacific islands of Samoa and Tonga, and Tajikistan. Okay. All non-white countries. What do you think they're going to do to those folks? Oh, yeah, we need people to work. We don't have enough people. Transatlantic slave trade part 2. Okay, that's what that is. Just in the context of the morally bankrupt framing in the rest of this article. Yeah, I think we'll stop there, because this is... and it has a section, the AI solution. I'm not even gonna go into that on this broadcast, because we've already talked about that. AI is not a solution. There's not enough power to do the AI. We're just really in a time where these emergencies are all competing with each other. These fires are all going off at the same time, or going on at the same time, and you can't put them out at the same time. So yeah, a lot to think about. I will, as I mentioned, link all of these articles in the comments. And before I forget, we do have a YouTube channel where I put all of the previous episodes, the ones that have not been lost to Instagram, because a few of them were, unfortunately. But if you're not necessarily an Instagram person, you can definitely check us out there. And I just did a bunch of updates over there last night, and so I'll put this episode over there as well. Okay, with all of that bright, sunshiny information, shiny, happy people holding hands. All right, so maybe go and listen to that after this. You'll feel a little bit better. Yay, REM. All right, so 2 poems, poems of the day. Now, this is from the Poetry Foundation, and this is by Barbara Jane Reyes, and it's called Dear Brown Girl. Dear Brown Girl, do you ever get sick of trying to be a miscast space filler in someone else's self-absorbed narrative that has nothing to do with you? That whether you are in their room or not, it makes no difference to their outcome, though you add color and spice. Do you ever get so fed up you just want to flip a table or throw a chair, say this some bullshit, storm out of the room, and slam the door behind you? A couple of things about that room. They don't want you in it. Ooh, it's true. But it's also true that it's a pretty whack-ass room. Its outdated decor is garish and overstuffed. The air in their room is dense with mold, and it is filled with people who keep running into you because they don't see you there, or want to suit themselves in your skin, then disrobe and stash you when you become inconvenient, such as when more important people enter the room. This room is also filled with brown people who are okay with being flayed and trashed. Yes, this is a good one. When they are not pleading with you to just shut your mouth, they are trying to push you out the window. Why do you want so badly to be in this room with them? When they try to convince you that they are not racist, but you can tell them to shut their dirty lying mouths. You can tell them where they can refill their own glasses. See their eyes well up. See how small they become. See them now disrobed. See them whimper and mewl. You can tell them their fragility is coming unhemmed, peeking out from their yellow drapes. Their fabric must have been cheaply manufactured. Gaze at them for a short while. You don't even have to say anything mean. Say nothing at all. Just gawk and occasionally smile. See the sheen on their Vaseline teeth melt away. See the luster of their precious room disappear. Oh, this is beautiful. I've got to print this out. All right, that is Barbara Jane Reyes, Dear Brown Girl. Thank you, Miss Reyes. This is so good. And it relates very much to what I was saying about the black political class, right? They just want to tell you to shut up and not ask for anything, for your vote, which that's the whole thing. You're voting for people that you want to actually do something in the government. But shut up. You're just the low information voter. You don't matter. All right. Now, we'll do one more poem and then we'll wrap up. Okay. So this is from poets.org, and the poet is Pamela Mordecai. Oh, and the poem's called Savage. Let's see what this is about. Savage is so man. Ooh. Okay. Okay, it's in dialect. Okay, so let me see if I can. I don't want to butcher her words here. Start it again. So the poem's called Savage. Is so man stay savage, so dem wretched and raw, so dem nigh up dilam. As dem roll out de law, so dem ball out fi blood, as dem wash off dem hands, is not just so dem stay, don't is why dem name man. Wow. Okay, I would have to check that out again. Pamela Mordecai, let me look up where she's from. Okay, I was just like, it felt Jamaican, but I didn't want to. But I was just like, if she's not Jamaican at all, Deanne, you sound crazy. Okay, no, she is a Jamaican Canadian poet. Okay, I would suggest if you're interested in that poem, let me see, because they have her reading it here. I'm just gonna play a little bit of it. Oh, my janky little iPad is not playing it. All right. Well, if you want to hear the poet read it, she'll do it justice. Because I did not. But I thank her for her words. My favorite stanza is so dem wretched and raw. Right? And then later she says, as them roll out the law. So those two stanzas, there's a stanza in between, but those two rhyme. Very cool. I'm, going to broadcast again, because I do, but I don't know the actual day yet. I'll think about the schedule. Next week, I might hop on over the weekend, maybe or maybe not. It depends, honestly, on the allergies. I don't want to do another episode where I'm just kind of chasing snot. But for anybody that ends up watching this replay, thanks so much for the support. If I was a person that took myself super seriously, I would have given up doing this a long time ago. I've had so many on phone gaffes. Like it's not even funny, but it's really funny. All right, so I'm still Deanne Battle. This is still the Composite, and this has been season 4, episode 7. All right, see you in a few days. Take care.